Hi YouTube, look at the lovely dolly head. Um, oh, this is really disgusting, isn't it? I saw this at the car boot sale and it was £3 and I thought, we can turn this into something beautiful instead of this ugly monstrosity. So keep watching and this will go through quite a lot of stages, but it's going to be so worth it in the end. So the first stage was to get out the old Dremel drill with a cutting disc attachment, and I've just cut off her nose and I've cut some slots here down into the jaw. I want to take the whole jaw off. I'll show you that in a second, but you can see the kind of slits that I've made here. And look, she's still smoking. Can you see? Actually looks really quite like frightening by itself. But yeah, I've got big plans for this. It is definitely worth keeping an eye out at car boot sales, like in charity shops and that sort of thing. You can pick up so many really cool toys really cheaply, and you've just got to kind of think about them in a different way and just think, what can I do with this? Okay, so look, this is how the jaw's coming off at the moment. Even that looks quite horrific. I quite liked the way this looked, and I thought to myself, maybe I could just do something with this, but no, I've got a different idea for this. So the next stage was to cut the neck off. I unscrewed the base as well, took that off for now. And I found this black tube as well, which I'll be able to cut a slit down to make the black tube kind of thinner. And I can squeeze it into that neck hole, put this on the top, and then reattach the head on top of this to give me a much longer neck. I might shorten this a little bit, but this Tamiya saw is really good for this sort of thing. I really recommend it. When I bought this, it was a bit bigger than I thought it was going to be, but actually it's really, really useful for any sawing like this. Right, let me show you what it looks like with that neck tube attached. So I've got that on. It's actually stuck on the bottom with duct tape, and I'm going to put duct tape all around this as well, and then we can kind of paper mache over the top of it. Okay, so I have this skull down in my studio and it's been there for years, but it was a plastic skull. Again, I probably got it in a charity shop or a car boot sale, and I just coated it all with kitchen paper and PVA glue. Years ago, I painted it grey and it's been there ever since. And I saw that and I thought that looks just the right size for this particular sculpt. So I've brought it up and I can dry brush it later. Okay, this is it mounted on top of the neck. You can see what I've done here is I've made a brain as well. If you want to see how I make these brains, there's another video that I've done about a sort of a cyborg, and I'll put a link to that at the end of this video. But it's basically aluminium foil kind of squashed up, and then you use a knife to kind of make the brain shape. And then coat it with PVA glue and kitchen paper. You can see here I've made some rolls of PVA glue and kitchen paper just to make the sort of tendons in the neck and the sort of collarbone. So this is how it's looking so far. I've cut the ears off as well, got those separately, and I plan to mount those on stalks. It was just an idea that came to me, and I just thought it might look like the sort of head is kind of exploding out a bit. So here they are mounted on stalks. These were just a couple of cardboard tubes from some aluminium foil, and I've just gone over that with PVA glue and kitchen paper just to give it some texture. This will all be painted obviously, and then it will look much better. And I've gone over the whole neck with a layer of kitchen paper and PVA glue as well, and also inside this head, because there was all the sort of weaving from the hair inside, and I wanted to cover that up a bit, give it a bit of texture. You can see on the back here as well, I've also added a couple of metal plates with little screws, just to kind of make those ear stalks a bit stronger. This will all be covered up with a lot of kind of gore and stuff in these kind of ear rims and over these metal plates as well later. You can clearly see here where the PVA glue has started to dry and it's going much clearer. Again, all of this texture is really nice when you come to paint it. You can dry brush it, it makes it look a bit wrinkly. Quite like the idea of making the neck look like an old woman's neck, even though it's on a young person's face. Okay, I started painting at this stage, so you can see I've done the inside of the head, bright red. I just used red straight out of the tube. This is System 3 acrylic paint that I'm using. I've also done the ear stalks with quite a lot of sort of gore added to the inside of the eye sockets as well. Um, and then the brain I've just painted like a really dark purple, and then I've dry brushed a lighter purple over the top. With that eye that I cut off, I don't know if you noticed earlier in the video, but I cut one of the eyes off as well. You can see here I've just gone in with a pair of wire cutters and just made this kind of cool exploding kind of shape, and then I've just painted the back red and all of the edges as well. At this point I had some flesh colour paint left over from another project, so I decided to paint the neck. It's not the right sort of flesh colour that I want, so I'll treat this as a base coat and I'll repaint it later. But then I also mixed yellow ochre with white, and I've done like some dry brushing to the skull. So this leaves the grey colour just in all of the sort of gaps and the deepest places. And that really kind of brings out the detail in the skull. Okay, for a lot of the detail bits that I'm just about to show you, I use Milliput. If you haven't used Milliput before, it's a two-part putty. You mix equal parts of these two sticks together, and they start to dry, and they take about 4 hours to set rock hard. Milliput sponsors this channel, so go out and get yourself some if you haven't already tried it. It's really good stuff. So you can probably see all the bits that are Milliput here from its distinctive colour, but I'll show you inside the bottom jaw here, which I've mounted on. There's all like texture. That was just a case of putting the Milliput on and then just pressing into it with a sculpting tool. And yeah, all that texture, I really like that, because then when you paint it red and it just looks like gore. You can see here as well, I've added just a couple of kind of supports on the edge of the jaw here, and then I'll add more Milliput onto this later to kind of bulk out the shape of the jaw. I've also got the upper jaw as well, where I've just added like sort of edges of lips, but do you see they go all the way up there, connect on. But again, I'll add more into these kind of corners just to sort of curve them in a bit. I've also put like a little scar on the face, and also gone around the edge of the eye. There's the scarlet. And again, with the edge of the eye, I've just gone around, put some Milliput on, and then I've really kind of pressed into it to give it a really nice kind of rough texture. And again, when that's painted red, it'll just look like gore. Yeah, I was going to end up filling in the sides here, but I actually quite like the fact that there's a hole and you can see the brain. You can see I used some Milliput at the back there to attach the back of the head. And again, I'll add more gore to that. At this point, like, I'm really pleased with how the overall shape is coming on, but I'm feeling like it needs a lot more kind of gore and things added to it. And maybe some veins on the ear stalks as well. So this was the next stage, more use of the Milliput for more gore. You can see I've put lots of textured bits kind of on the top of the head. Those need to be painted red. More texture like where it meets the ear stalk. I've done some sort of drips coming from the bottom of the ear stalks as well. That's the gore on the side, and then some veins, which is just literally just thin rolls of Milliput just pressed on basically to make the veins. Those should look good when they're painted purple to match the brain. So you can see like a bit more texture as well around some of these edges and at the back of the head there. I've also added more Milliput all the way around the edge of the mouth for the lips. I've painted this bit of gore around the eye. You can see the difference there. So I can't wait to paint all these other bits. But yeah, the shape of the whole mouth is much more refined now. Again, it'll look much better when it's painted, but you can see like much better kind of lips. Okay, if you take one final look at this just before we go on to the next stage, which will be the final stage, just remember what this looks like now with all the Milliput and everything unpainted, because the next stage makes all the difference. Okay, so next stage coming up. Right, there you go. What do you think? So I've painted all the gory bits red, just flat red to start with, and then I've made a much darker red and I've made a wash of that, just painted it over all the gore so it sits in all the little dips and things. I've painted the veins on the ear stalks purple. On the brain, I've done little tiny thin red veins. They're sort of hard to see. They're easier to see in real life. They look really nice. I've also painted this effect of blood pouring out of her eye, and I used some dark red so it looked like a little shadow underneath it, and then painted the brighter red. So it looks quite three-dimensional, but it's not. It's flat on the face. It's just a sort of nice visual effect. I've also painted this lighter flesh colour as a dry brush onto the actual flesh, and it's quite nice having that sort of two-tone effect. I've also painted the lips in that nice pink colour, so that brings those out, makes them look more like lips. On the ears, you can see I've dry brushed some lighter flesh onto that as well, so they kind of stand out a bit more. On the scar, I've painted some little blood streak effects, like there's blood sort of running from the scar. Nice little touch, I thought. You probably noticed that I put that brightly coloured hairband on her. There were also these other bits that came with it that I put on the front here. And on the neck, I've dry brushed a lighter flesh colour, so it brings out all of those little texture details, makes it look like wrinkles. Inside here, you can see all the gore all nicely painted. That kind of makes the skull kind of pop forward a bit, just having that dark red in behind it. So I'm really pleased with this overall. I hope you like it too. Like I say, go to a charity shop or a car boot sale, get yourself a hideous doll head or something similar, and why not have a go yourself? It's really good fun doing this kind of sculpting. Yeah, check out my other videos for more similar kind of things. Hit subscribe if you want to see even more in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.